Hey, Bubba Tech here, and this is going to be my video on how to disassemble a H&R Pardner pump. This is my H&R Pardner pump, 12 gauge pump action shotgun with a 28-inch vent rib barrel and the brass bead sight, but this will pretty much go for any of their lineup. If you're watching this video, you probably will know that these are basically a Chinese copy of the Remington 870. They're pretty good guns. They're very affordable. I've had this one for a number of years, have had no problems out of it. From forums and reviews and stuff, it seems like pretty much everybody has had a fairly good experience with them. I really like that it has a steel receiver, a steel trigger guard, and has a general setup just like the 870, but you can get it. I think I paid like $150. I think these go for like $150, $200 in this configuration. And they also have shorter barrel lengths, cylinder bores for like home defense style setup, and I mean they're just an affordable shotgun in a world of really affordable aluminum framed receivers. You actually can get one of these at the same price point as those, but have a steel receiver. I love steel receivered guns. All three of my shotguns have steel receivers. I've done aluminum in the past, Mossberg's and Savage and some other manufacturers, and they were great. But I really do like my 870 platforms and their steel receivers, and I really do like my ones. I have a couple of them that have the steel trigger guard. I kind of like that feature as well. Like I said, they're basically just a copy of the 870, and takedown is basically the same, but I figured I had to take it apart to clean it, so might as well film it, try to put a video out there for y'all that may be interested. The only difference generally between, say, the general lines of an 870 would probably be this hump back here. You either like it or you don't. I'm okay with it, but that's one of those aesthetic things that I failed to mention a second ago, with being a little bit different than an 870. Let's go ahead and get to taking it down. First off, as a little bit towards safety, you want to always make sure that the weapon is on safe and that it is unloaded, so you make sure there's nothing in the magazine and nothing in the chamber, and you want to make sure that there is no ammo on your table and that you got a nice clean space here to work on, so you don't lose any of your parts when you take it apart. Okay, to start assembly, you have to hit the release and for the slide, and go ahead and put it about midway in the ejection port like that, as you see. And you go ahead and start unscrewing this. As you can hear, there's a detent that holds it in place so it doesn't come unscrewed during normal use. Be careful, there is going to be some spring, that's the cap right there. There's going to be some spring pressure underneath this plunger, this end cap that actually holds the magazine spring in place. So be careful about that. You can go ahead and take the barrel off now since you took the cap off. And sometimes you can just disassemble to there, get a good clean on the barrel, but I'm going to go ahead and show you how to take down the rest of the components in the receiver. So for the mag spring catch, you're going to need to depress it and then twist it like that. I just use a flathead screwdriver. You don't have to. It's just something to make it go a little bit easier. So there's your little detent that holds that in, the little catch cap end of it like that right there. Go ahead and take the spring out and go ahead and get the follower out of there. It goes a certain way. There you go. It has little grooves right there, so it'll go. There's a dents in there to hold that in place. Detents in there to hold that in place. So that you got all that off, you can go ahead and pull the slide forward, and it'll stop right there. And you have a series of shell latches, one on either side, to depress to allow you to bring it out. You bring that all the way out, and you can take the bolt off, and you can also take off the carrier for the bolt. And you go ahead and slide the fore end, the pump, off of the magazine tube. The last thing that you need to do for disassembly is I take my pin and I hold the action up like so, and you go ahead and drive out the pins that hold the trigger guard in place. There are two of them. One's a larger one and one is a smaller one, and the holes correspond to that, so just remember that when you put it back together. And go ahead and take out the action, and there you go, completely disassembled. Completely disassembled, you have the receiver and stock and magazine tube unit. You have the barrel. You have some pins that hold in your action, which also has your shell lifter. And you have your bolt and your bolt carrier, and those are a unit together. And then you have the fore end, the magazine spring, the shell plunger, follower, and the magazine catch cup at the end there that actually is against the detents to hold the spring in, and the end cap that holds all that, as well as the barrel line. So reassembly is in reverse. So to start reassembly, go ahead and take the action group, the trigger, go ahead and put it inside right here, inside the receiver. Make sure you line everything up good and get it in place. Now you got the detents that they're going to actually go into to hold them in place, but you got the big pin. It goes in right here, and you heard it click in place, and you can feel it with your fingers on either side that it's in the right proper spot where those two of those detents are that I'm talking about. This is a small pin. It goes in the front. You want to make sure you're good and lined up. Need to come down just a bit. There you go. That's in place. Give it a good little tug. Make sure it's seated well. Okay. Now it's time to put the fore end back on with the bolt carrier group. Go ahead and put it over the front there of the magazine tube. Hold it right there, and then go ahead and set your bolt carrier on there. There's only one way it can go on. It has a notch right here and a notch right there, and a notch right here on the rails right here for the fore end that it sets into. Sometimes on these models the fore ends kind of press together a little, so you just need to work it in there. So it's in there good, like you can see now. Go ahead and take your bolt. It rides right on top. You do not want to have it like that because it won't be able to go into the receiver. You want to have it forward like that so that the locking piece is down and out of the way. Go ahead and feed it in, and first thing you're going to come up against is the shell latches. So you just want to reach in through the loading port and just depress those. You're just going to have to finagle it in there really, but eventually it gets to that point and you can just click it into place past the shell latches. Go ahead and hit your release, and you go ahead and put your bolt back to the middle point there in the ejection port to allow you to install the barrel. So before you do that, you want to go ahead and put in your follower. Remember where your detents are. Go ahead and set it in there. Go ahead and take your narrower end of the spring, and go ahead and get you a better view. Go ahead and take your narrow end of the spring and put it in there, feed it in. Make sure it goes ahead and seats all the way down to the base of the magazine. And go ahead and take your catch cup right there and make sure you don't kink it. And as you can see on the catch cup here, it has those grooves I was telling you about. These stop so that you put it in on these grooves past the detents, and then you turn it with your screwdriver, and that locks in when you turn it onto those positions. So we'll go ahead and do that real quick. Go ahead and put it down and then over. And as you can see, it holds it in place. Okay, now you're ready for your barrel. Go ahead and take your barrel and line it up and set it in. And you know you're in the right position when you look through the chamber here, and you can see that it has lined up with the notch for the ejector, and that it looks like the extractor will line up nicely as well with the bolt. And then here on top that the vent rib is in place. You can go ahead and start feeding it on the end cap, and as you can hear there, the detents are working against the catch cup. So it is in place now, locked in. Okay, and now what you want to do is you want to run through some procedures to make sure that it was reassembled correctly. Go ahead and rack it, and it should lock, should not release, so that's good. Go ahead and release it. It should release, and then go ahead and close it again. Go ahead and check your safety. Safety's good. Go ahead and depress the safety and make sure that your firearm's unloading still safe, like when you started. And go ahead and pull the trigger, and it should release to allow you to open the pull the forend back to open up the bolt, and which would be the ejection. And then go ahead and take it back forward, and it should hold on again. It should lock to where you have to pull the trigger again to go ahead and cycle it. Go ahead and redo your safety, and there your trigger is locked out, and this is locked out as well. And there your release is working. So everything's working good. After you go through those procedures, it should be good to go. I like to wipe mine down after I've disassembled it, cleaned it, reassembled it, just to get my fingerprints off it and everything. And I like to keep them inside of one of those gun socks that you can put on there that keeps the rust off and keeps them from getting beat up. These are great little shotguns for the price, and the features you get for them, such as the steel receiver, steel trigger guard, already drilled and tapped for a sight rail, and the nice vent rib, the bead sight, and the other options, polymer stock, polymer 4N. This is a short throw 4N. As you can see what I'm saying, you know, it covers up some of the ejection port there. It covers up some of the loading port there, and it comes back over the ejection port like you see. It's a very short throw, just a few inches between here. So it's very quick pumping action when you're doing that. And then, you know, sling swivels, and then this is pre-drilled for a sling swivel. So just some of the features you get on the shotgun are really nice. And the grooving right here, the jimping is very nice, and it locks in nice. And this is some nice polymer, or a composite polymer that they made the stocking 4N out of. So it's got a lot of nice little features about it, even though it is a really affordable shotgun. Would I trade my Remington 870 for one? You know, God no. Especially for something from China like this. But if you're looking for an affordable shotgun to get yourself into the game, or like me, you want to have a hunting or skeet gun, but you didn't want to drop a lot of money on it because it's not something you get to do very often like myself, I highly recommend one of these. Thanks for watching.